We've received quite a bit of interest in my free to be workshop, so to that effect, beneath this video is a link that will give you a description for the workshop, and we've also included a special discount. So if that's something you would be interested in, I would invite you to click that link, and I hope that you would find the course to be quite beneficial. Are you impressed by people who would be considered an authority in their field? I mean, do you seek individuals out who probably know a whole lot more about a certain topic than you do? Well, of course you do. We all have somebody, whether it's in the medical profession or education or people that are working on your car or folks who are helping you out with computers. I mean, we all have somebody that we look to that's an authority in their field, and that's a good thing. Not all of us can have every single life skill mastered, and when someone comes along and says, well, I know something about that, then that can be a helpful thing, and it can create a sense of community. Plain and simple. Now, when we're dealing with narcissists, things are anything but plain and simple. When they think in terms of authority and having the know-how to do something, they take it way too far, and they cross the line into what we would refer to then as authoritarianism, which is a much stronger sense than what I just mentioned. When we talk about people who are prone towards authoritarianism, there are so many venues where this can play out. For example, I've spoken to lots of people who will say, yeah, I look back in my childhood and there was one very dominant person, whether it's a parent or a grandparent or an aunt or an uncle or an older sibling, that just ruled the roost, and everything had to be filtered to that person. Or in marriages or living situations, it's very common over time for one person to emerge as the dominant one over the other, and that's the one who says, I'll make the final decisions around here. Or if you're in a work setting, you know that there are some individuals who've decided, well, there's you peons out there, and then there's me. And I know a whole lot more about what's going on, so why don't you just defer to me? Or sometimes you have religious structures. Sometimes you have educational systems. Sometimes it's in politics. A lot of times it's in politics where people bring this authoritarianism, and it's like, if things are going to go right, I have to be the one who says what it is, and you have to comply to me. Now you can see that all of this is baked into the narcissistic pattern of life. Narcissism is defined by the need to control other individuals, an attitude of superiority, a lack of empathy toward others, what we refer to as alternate reality, and their willingness to manipulate and exploit other people, those kinds of ingredients. And when we refer to narcissists as authoritarian kind of individuals, there's a good definition we can go with, and that is, it becomes a relationship that's characterized by the requirement of unquestioned subservience. Okay? Have you ever been around somebody that's like, no, you owe that to me? Dominance is preeminent. Obedience and acquiescence is required. That's what we're talking about when we talk about authoritarian individuals, authoritarian systems. Now, through the years in my counseling practice, you can imagine I've heard pretty much every story in the book. There are so many complaints that I have heard that relate to this very topic. And I want to run through some of them, and I want you to think if you've heard some of these or thought some of these thoughts in your own personal life. For example, I've heard people say, I had a mother or a father who just simply wouldn't let me think for myself all the way through childhood. It's like I had to comply, and my decision my preferences didn't really factor into our primary decisions. Or it might be that somebody would come to my office and say, my partner is so stubborn. If I have an opinion or a preference, I'm going to be instantly shut down. Have you ever had that kind of experience in your life? Or it could be that somebody will come in and say, well, I had a religious system that just fed me guilt. And shame. It's like, well, I have to believe a certain way, and if I don't, it's curtains for me. And that can mess with a person's head, because you see, the authoritarian person hides behind the skirts, if you will, of God himself. It's like, well, it's not me that's telling you this. It's God. I just happen to be the spokesperson. No, it's not. It's you. Or there's some people that would come into my office and they would say, when I have discussions with that narcissistic person, it's not really a discussion. That person just tells. Period. End of discussion. They don't want my input. Or with that person, I rarely feel heard. Or I dread the harsh repercussions if I don't do what they say I'm supposed to do. That's what we refer to when we talk about authoritarianism. Now, I want us to think, what kind of patterns can we watch for that says that an individual is that authoritarian person and they're trying to pull you into their authoritarian requirements? Well, there are multiple things for us to watch for, and the more you're able to see this, then hopefully you can put some objective thinking to it and realize, this is not something that's healthy whatsoever. Now, first and foremost, when we talk about authoritarianism, we'll pull back and realize that the craving for control, the need for dominance, is baked into that authoritarian person in the first place, or that system. There's some individuals that's like, well, look, when you're around me, somebody has to be in charge, and I'm the smart one in the room, and so that's what we're going to do. Control, dominance is that individual's psychological language, and it doesn't even occur to them to think in any other kind of way. The authoritarian person says, we need to establish rules. We need to establish order, and I happen to be the one who's going to do it, and so that's a huge red flag that says you're in trouble there. Now, in addition to that, when you're in an authoritarian kind of relationship or system, then you realize really the only way for me to find favor with that individual is to comply. If I just lay down my ego, if I just lay down my preferences, then maybe good things are going to happen. And you can have that sort of teaching that's drilled into you. Also, authoritarian people have a very high competitive mindset. They're in my world, says the narcissist with the authoritarian bent, in my world, there are winners and there are losers. Well, good for you. Good news for you. I'm the winner, and you don't want to be a loser, so you just need to be over here with me. And if not, then we're just going to declare you a loser. And so you're thinking, well, I don't want to be a loser, and so sometimes you have to get, you feel like you have to comply just for that particular reason. In addition, in the authoritarian world, you begin learning that deferential behavior from you towards that person gets rewarded. So it's like, well, if I want this, I guess I'll have to do certain things, and it becomes a quid pro quo. You do this for me, and I'll do that for you. That's the way it works around here, and there's very much a domination theme that's part of that. Now, another thing, and I'm going to get to this in just a moment, but in authoritarian relationships and systems, freedom is not something that's really allowed. It's non-existent. And the authoritarian person thinks, why should I allow you the privilege to choose who you're going to be when you have me that's in here? I'll just tell you who you're supposed to be and what you're supposed to do. Because of that, then, fear and distrust is baked into the relationship. The authoritarian person doesn't trust you because they themselves learn not to trust other individuals. Like, nope, trust is an overused term, and I'm not into that. And then, in addition, the authoritarian narcissist has never really developed empathy. The message that they have toward other individuals is, I don't care what you feel. I don't care what you think. Your emotions are just going to be ignored. They're a nuisance to me. And because of that, then, there's no effort or no need, if you will, to read the meaning of somebody's depression or anxiety or anger or guilt. What does that tell us? And how can I learn from you when you experience that or when I experience that? You don't go into that kind of space at all. It's all about keeping the externals correct. Now, I'm going to go back and pick up on one word that I just used, and that's the word freedom. That freedom is one word that I would use very commonly inside my therapy office, and I would get multiple reactions when I would introduce that thought. When I would say, you're free to be who you are. Sometimes when I would tell people you're free to be who you are, individuals will get a tremendous feeling of relief. Like, wow, really? You mean I get to choose for myself? The answer is yeah. It's part of your humanity. Some people, when I use that word freedom, they have a reaction of disbelief. It's like, nah, nobody thinks like that. And these are individuals who's given up on themselves. Some people have what I might refer to as a guarded skepticism. Well, yeah, I know everybody's free, but if everybody's free, then that could turn into chaos. I'm not real sure that's a good idea. Some people have trembling fear when I use that word freedom. Well, if I'm free, then do you know what's going to come towards me? It's not going to end well. That authoritarian person's going to clobber me. And then some individuals have a secret agreement with me, even as they maintain their compliance towards the narcissist. But the bottom line is, authoritarianism is a very unhealthy way of engaging. Freedom is the much more mature kind of way. And let's see if we can wrap up with some thoughts there. First, we're going to recognize authoritarianism is in fact a choice. In other words, people are free if that's the way they want to approach life. Your collapse is also a choice. You don't have to do it, but sometimes you can do so just to think, I don't want to have to fight against it. Being timid and remaining in a timid position is a choice. Being secretive is a choice. Listening to your own inner voice, now that's a choice too. Determining your personal priorities and what makes sense to you, that's a choice as well. Acting upon your common sense, that's a choice. Or moving away from a would-be dictator, that's also a choice. So I want to wrap up here today by asking you one question that the authoritarian narcissist will never ask you, ever. And that one question simply is, which choices would you like to make? You get to do that, you realize. And I hope that videos like this can give you some good food for thought. And if you haven't already hit that subscribe button, please do so. Hit the notification bell that goes along with it. We'll keep more videos coming toward you. I really appreciate you allowing me to be on your journey with you. Now, as you think through concepts like this, it might be that you'll decide, I could use some help. I could use some therapy. For years, I've been sponsored by the people at BetterHelp.com. It's an online therapy resource. There's a link below our video that will take you right to them, answer a few questions, and then you get to select a therapist that you can work with. And it can be so helpful for that person to sit down and say, I want to know you. Let's break this down. Let's have an understanding, and then let's figure out who you're going to choose to be. Please, as the need is there, get the help. Now, in my retirement from my counseling practice, I put together online courses, classes, if you will, and each one of them is very extensive, and it reflects my 40 years of listening to individuals in the counseling office. Each class has at least 25 teaching videos with handouts, guided questions for pursuit of the goal of that particular class. We have anger games. We have This Is Me about establishing boundaries, Free to Be, finding yourself, Ready, Set, Connect about healthy relationships. So avail yourself to those. There's links below the video here. On my website, we also have access to my 90-minute webinars, which are teaching of a very different nature, along with my articles, access to my podcasts, my books, plenty of resources. When you look at somebody who says, well, I'm an authority about something, great, go get them. But when you look at someone that says, no, I have to be the authority and you have to comply, well, we're talking about a horse of a whole different color, and that's not something we want to get ourselves into. They want to pull you into their realm, but you're not required to comply, particularly as you go deeper and deeper into your adult independence. So that being the case, I'm hoping you can learn to trust yourself, to think through who you're going to be, allow yourself to have the analytical thinking that's required that they don't want you to use. And then in doing so, it can take you further and further in the direction toward you finding your own sense of peace.